Alright guys, welcome back to Project 4 Part 3. In this video, we're going to be unboxing the new top end parts and breaking down the bottom end. Alright, let's get to it. Alright, back in the shop. There is our ugly as heck bottom end. This thing needs some serious cleaning. Not a problem. We're going to take care of all of that. And guys, I wasn't lying. We do have packages here with some good stuff in them. I know exactly what's in both of these boxes. Well, actually, this could be Christmas gifts for like my girlfriend or something. That is a possibility. That'd be pretty disappointing. But I think I do know what's in both of these boxes. So let's get to opening them up. All right. Well, I just can't help it, guys. I have to open up the big box first. So let's see what's in this thing. Oh man, so this is what we got in the big box. Oh man. Dude, these things are awesome. A lot of you guys ask in the comments why I say Bach instead of box. And I really can't answer that. But these cylinders look awesome. You can see they're Meixsell coated. And I actually have one of the OEM cylinders here. And I'll show you the difference here. If you look, put that down. If you look here, you can see the separation. There's a steel sleeve that's in this cylinder. You can really see it on the bottom. This whole thing is a steel sleeve that's actually pressed into this cast cylinder. So that sleeve can actually be pressed out and a new sleeve can be pressed in. Now I'll show you on the new ones. You can see there's no sleeve. There's just that coating. It's a Meixsell coating. It's made of, I believe it's nickel and a silicone compound, and it's very durable and it lasts longer than the typical sleeves do. So this is actually newer technology. It should last a little bit longer than a traditional cylinder. That's why I wanted the Meixsell cylinders. And I believe the water jackets on these are slightly larger also, so it's going to help dissipate heat a little bit better than the factory cylinders. And it still says 347 centimeters. I really like that, kind of like giving it a stock look. But these are big bore cylinders. So this is actually going to be a 421. You can see the porting in here. These ports are huge. Now I'm going to show you once again on the OEM cylinder. Now these OEM cylinders that I have a really aggressive port job on them. But even with that aggressive port job, you can see how much bigger they are in the Assassin kit from Driveline Performance. These stock cylinders are going to be for sale, by the way. I think I'm going to put them up for $250. They're in good shape. I'm just not going to use them. But yeah, these are really nice cylinders. I'm surprised. I thought these would be this would be a little bit more ramped in the middle. I was going to maybe hit this with a Dremel, but I think I'm just going to leave it because this is the way Driveline Performance sent them to me, and I'm sure they are built this way for a reason. They're low ports, so these should give me good low-end torque as opposed to top-end. So that's what I wanted because it's going to be a trail quad. These here are the domes. These are also from Driveline Performance. These are big bore domes. So these are made specifically for big bore dome or big bore pistons. And I believe these are 23 cc. Let me see if there's a marking on here. There is. Big bore 24. 9-degree cut. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm going to leave these in the bag, at least for right now. But these are the heads that they recommended for my altitude to keep the quad with pump gas. And of course, got 2 small block here with blaster style pistons. There's a couple different types of pistons you can run to make your 4 mil build. And as far as Wiseco goes, they have the blaster style pistons, and then I think the 795 pistons. Don't quote me on that. But the ones that I have are the blaster style pistons, which came with this kit, and they're supposed to run with the heads that I got from Driveline also. I'm just going to pull this one piston out here so you can get a look at it. I love pistons. Plus you get this nice little bag to, yeah, I'm not really sure what I would do with this bag, but maybe I'll do something with it. And of course, we got our base gasket, and we got the stickers. Driveline Performance coming through with the stickers. Let's see what else we got in here. You can see they have everything in the kit included. Got the 24cc big bore Banshee domes with the 9-degree angle cut with the blaster style pistons. And you got the pistons, and you can see Banshee cylinder kit, 4 mil 115 crankshaft, low port timing for better low to mid power band. Exactly like I said, this is perfect. And he said if you need jetting suggestions, let us know. That's pretty awesome, because I probably will need that. And let's see what we got here. Remember, always check your ring gap, blah, 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 pistons. It's always a good idea to seal your base cylinders RTV. It's nice that they include stuff like this. You know, sometimes people pick up these kits and they really have no idea what they're doing, and it's nice to have this kind of like red flag before you go throwing it in. You know, companies like Driveline Performance go kind of above and beyond, just throwing little things like this. I appreciate that. All right, let's open up this second box. All right, so we got our Chariot cool head. This is a pretty nice piece here. You can see the finish on it. I was actually expecting it to be a little bit more polished. That's really not a problem. I can hit this with the buffing wheel and polish this thing up. I may or may not do that. I might just wipe it down. But it looks like a nice machine. It's a one-piece design. I guess technically 3 if you include the domes. But the Trinity head that I took off was a 2-piece design, and I have that head still, so I'm going to show you the differences side by side in a second here. And this here we have for a coolant hose. I'm not going to unbox this, or unbag this rather, because we're not going to be putting these on tonight, and I don't want to lose any parts. So I think it's better to just keep these in the bags. Comes with new acorn nuts for the head. That's nice. Some chrome nuts and new copper washers. And of course, rubber washers, O-rings for our head. So that's pretty nice. Okay, so I have the Chariot and this Trinity Stage 4 cool head here so that we can do a side-by-side comparison. Now, I looked these over and I did notice a couple things that might make advantages or disadvantages for both of these. So this is a one-piece design and this is a 2-piece design. And basically what that means is this Chariot is one piece, not including the domes. And this Trinity, you can see the top comes off. It's a 2-piece. There's an O-ring that seals this. So it's a different design there. Now the disadvantage to that is that supposedly this is more likely to have compression leaks, possibly coolant leaks, more so than it would be with the one-piece design like the Chariot. Now something that I noticed, now I don't know if this is necessarily true, but it appears pretty obvious. If you look at these, the Trinity is a good deal thicker. So it would seem that the Trinity has a bigger, more of a capacity for coolant. You can see in the Chariot, there's like channels in here for your coolant, and on the sides too. And of course on top of the domes. Now that may be more than enough to keep the head cool. I'm not really 100% sure, but I did notice this Trinity does seem to have a much larger capacity for coolant. The more coolant you have up there, the cooler the head should be. And you can see, let me pull this off again, these domes are different than the style of domes for the Chariot. Now these are Driveline Performance domes. These are not Chariot domes. But the nice thing about the Chariot kit is this style of dome is much more universal. You know, this will fit in a Pro Design cool head. It'll fit in Vito's cool head. It'll fit in Boss, I believe. Who else will this fit in? Well, regardless, this is a pretty universal dome size. So, you know, if you have the Trinity heads, you're kind of stuck with using their parts. Now, unfortunately, you can't even get the parts from Trinity anymore. They're called McDermott Racing now, so you can still get the domes apparently. But I didn't want to use that head. You know, I was advised to steer away from that head. I'm not saying it's a bad head. I just decided to go with the Chariot. I'm not going to run the Stage 4. But those are the things I noticed about it. You can see what it looks like on this side too. Different style. And then these domes just drop right in place. You can see there's a little cutout. And then in here, you can see the cutout right here. So these can only go in one way. Pop in like that. This seems like a much cleaner design. So hopefully this head will do a good job for me. And I'm actually, I sold this head and I'm going to be shipping this out. But before I do that, clean it up real quick. Alright guys, so we have our top end setup laying out right here. Now if you're looking at going with a setup just like this, you're looking at around $1,000. If you want to get the cylinders, you can get them from Driveline Performance. They're going to run you about $7.99. Now this kit is the 421 kit. It is for the long rod. Now this is also going to come with a base gasket, your studs, and 2 blaster style pistons. And if you want to run the Chariot cool head, you're looking at about $170. Now keep in mind that is just for the shell. You're also going to need a set of domes, which is going to run you about $50 to $60 depending on who you go with. If you go with Driveline, they're right around $55. All right, now that we got that covered, I want to start disassembling the bottom end of the Banshee. So you can see how I have everything set up here in an effort to keep things organized and straight and tidy. I have our bottom end sitting here on a piece of cardboard, and I've got all this bench space to put our parts. Now what I'm going to be doing is kind of having like a parts bench here where, you know, when I take things apart, I like to try to keep stuff organized. So as I take off parts, I'll put them over here, take bolts and stuff, and put them in baggies. You can see here it says Banshee motor bolts. And just kind of keep everything together because it's really easy to keep or to get things disorganized, to lose parts, miss bolts when you're putting things back together. Plus, when things are compartmentalized like that, it is much easier to assemble everything. And a lot of times I don't even need to look at the manual or anything to know where things go, just because keeping it organized, you don't have to go crazy with it. Now, I can't take credit for that entirely. If you guys are following this build, you guys are probably following South Texas Banshee too. I did watch a lot of his videos on his 4mm build, and you'll notice he does a lot of the things the same way that I do, and vice versa. You know, sometimes we do stuff differently. But when you guys are waiting for content, definitely check his stuff out. He has more of like an instructional information, you know, informative type video where he really goes over all the basics and shows you step by step exactly what you need to do. He makes really great videos. The dude really knows what he's talking about. I learned a lot of my stuff from him and his videos. The guy's really cool. Now, before I dive into taking apart this bottom end, I wanted to get your guys' opinion on these pipes. Now, they look ugly the way they are, but I guarantee you guys I can make these things look brand new again. I already did it once before. All of these, this rust and stuff I can get off and polish these pipes up. But these fatties aren't the best performing pipe for the package that I'm going with. And according to Driveline Performance, they're recommending SLP pipes. Now, SLP pipes are pretty affordable. They're around $600, and they come with the silencers and the pipes. And I talked with them to see if maybe they could cut me some kind of deal since I'm going to be doing it for the YouTube channel, and I'm not really hearing too much back. But my opinion, or the thing that I wanted to get from you guys is, do you think I should run these pipes and save a little bit of cash because right now it's not really in the budget? Or should I spring for the SLP pipes and put it together that way and then sell these pipes? So I'm back and forth between what I'm going to do with that. If I put it together with these Banshee pipes or these FMF pipes, it will run great, I'm sure. It just won't be the best. And then down the road, I could switch to the SLP pipes. But yeah, let me know in the comment section below what you think of that. All right, so let's get to tearing down this motor. Now, I'm not going to go over everything in detail for the disassembly. I would say disassembly is probably the easier part of the project. Now, like I said, if you guys are looking for a really in-depth disassembly of this motor, check out South Texas Banshee. He literally goes over step by step, and you can watch him do it in real time, taking apart the motor. Definitely recommend watching his videos if you're going to do any kind of builds, even if it's not a 4mm. You know, he has really instructional and visual videos where you can see exactly what he's doing. I'm just going to be like busting all the bolts loose and take this thing apart. If you see anything different on this Banshee, something that differs from yours, you might see something like that. Like, for instance, these bolts. These are nice stainless steel bolts. That's an aftermarket kit I got to put on here. Your Banshee might have the original regular screws with a Phillips head, and they can be a real pain in the ass. A lot of times they get stuck. So if you do have those Phillips head screws, you got to be really careful. Sometimes you got to break them loose with an impact driver or an impact gun I like to use. You put a lot of pressure on the back, and you can snap it a couple times. And a lot of times that'll break it loose without stripping them. But those things can be a serious bitch. So definitely an upgrade that I would go for is the stainless steel bolt kit with the Allen heads. Definitely a great upgrade. Something else you might notice different is your stator cover. This is the stator side of the motor. Might look different. More than likely does. You know, you might have the cover back here, the sprocket guard, and or sprocket cover rather. A lot of times they get broken, there's pieces flopping off, and it just looks like trash. So what I did is I just shaved mine out just to kind of clean it up. So stuff like that really isn't going to make a difference for disassembly of the motor. I just wanted to point that stuff out. Also, there's a piece of my case that was broken away. I shaved that down too to try to make it look as OEM as possible. And I got the case guard on there and some other aftermarket parts. All right, guys, let me get this shifter off, and we'll get the stator cover off, and we'll get all that stuff done. Now, taking off your flywheel can be a little bit tricky. We're going to use this tool right here. It's a flywheel puller specifically designed for the Banshee. And essentially what this thing is, you know, there's threads inside your flywheel here. You thread it in, and then this is going to be threaded in the back once you have this threaded in nice and tight. And this pin here is going to come through and press against your crankshaft. And it's just going to pull that flywheel right off. It's a pretty safe method. You can pick one of these up on eBay for about $7.50. I think that's what I paid for this thing. Now, one thing to keep in mind, it is reverse threaded. So you're going to sit here, if you're going clockwise, you're going to be, you know, threading all day long. Wondering what the heck is wrong with this thing. Probably think your threads are jimmied up or something. It's reverse threaded, guys. So just keep that in mind when you're doing it. Real easy to forget. But we're going to go ahead and thread this thing in. You want to make sure it's threaded nice and far because there's going to be a lot of tension on the threads. And the last thing you want to do is jimmy up your threads or rip the threads out, especially if your flywheel gets damaged, because then you're going to be screwed just asking for more work. So make sure this thing is threaded on nice. All right, so now we'll thread this pin in. Get it nice and snug on there. Throw our impact gun on, which you don't have to use. It just makes the job a lot easier. And there you can see, guys, flywheel is off. Now I'm going to take my stator off with my timing plate. I'm going to take them all off in one piece because I'm not going to be touching any of this stuff. Now you have three 10mm bolts. And if you notice that my timing plate is a little bit different than yours, that's because I modified my timing plate. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but it's shaved down in some spots. I modified this timing plate so that I could advance the timing 4 degrees. If you guys want to see how to do that, I do have a video showing how to modify your timing plate. It's really not that hard to do. You pretty much just need a Dremel and a file. But anyways, before I remove these three 10mm bolts, we have this wire pigtail right here. It's running through the cases, and it's guarded by a rubber grommet. So I'm going to push that out before I even get these bolts out. I'm just going to take a flathead screwdriver and kind of encourage it to go through. Now if you're having trouble getting this grommet through, sometimes if you spray a little Windex or any kind of soap really, it helps push it through, but it's usually not difficult to do. When you're pulling these wires through, you got to do them one at a time or they won't fit. So that's that. Should pop right off. Easy. Don't lose your key in your drive shaft. Now's a good time to pull that thing out if you haven't already. Now I'm going to take my sprocket off, and I'm going to take this case saver off too, which I might actually be replacing this case saver. This is a good case saver, but you know, you guys showed me some stuff after I bought this. You know, this probably isn't the best case saver you can get. If a chain whips up here and hits this, it's going to bust all three of these mounting points down here. There's a better option. Now, I did come up with a solution for making this chain guard better than it is, and basically it would be making a brace that bolts on right here and connects to the frame, so it would have support up top. I'm considering possibly doing that, but I do like to have the engine completely separate from the frame, at least, you know, on its own. So I don't know if I really want to go with making a custom bracket for this. You guys were telling me about another company that makes a chain saver or a case saver that fills up this entire area, so I am playing around with that. So let's get this one off. Now to get this sprocket off, we have a lock washer. I'm going to flatten this out with a flathead and a hammer, and then we'll try to break this loose with the impact gun. Now when you're taking this chain off, if you're having trouble keeping your sprocket from moving, you can use your old chain, and actually, or any chain really, as long as it fits, and wrap it around your sprocket to hold it. That's going to give you pretty good leverage. So that's what I'm going to do, and we'll see if we can snap this thing loose. It's messy if your chain's greasy, but it's going to get the job done. So now that our stator side is completely disassembled, gonna spin our motor around here. Now before I get started with the clutch side of this motor, I actually left the motor oil in this motor. Now the reason I did that is because I knew this thing was going to be left outside for quite some time, and the oil is going to prevent any kind of rust should moisture get inside the motor. So that's why I left the motor oil in there. I actually forgot, and I was about to pop this cover off, and we would have had a huge mess here. So I have the perfect table to drain this thing. I'm going to show you how I'm going to do it right now. This workbench here is absolutely perfect for this because I can crank this thing and open up the gap between these two boards. Got my oil pan down there, it slides underneath perfectly. It's like this thing was made for the Banshee motor and draining engines. So I'm just going to take that engine, plop it on here with the drain bolt right in that gap, and drain the motor oil out. This thing's getting light. Alright, now I have this thing propped up so that all that motor oil is going to drain out efficiently. Now you guys are going to hate me, but I'm going to call this video quits here. I want this thing to drain out as much as I possibly can, so I'm going to let this thing sit overnight. I want to get to editing the footage that I already have for you guys because I know you guys are dying for a video. In the next video, we'll be taking off our clutch cover and all of our clutch components, and then we'll probably be splitting the cases in that video too. Then I'm going to clean up these messy cases because they look like hell. You guys are probably saying, oh man, this guy doesn't clean up his stuff. He gets it all muddy and just leaves it like that, which is partially true sometimes. We're going to put this thing in the parts cleaner and really clean it up nice. I might even make this thing look freaking awesome because it's going to be a 4 mil. You know what I mean? It's got to look awesome. So don't worry, we'll be taking care of all that stuff. That's going to be coming next. Also, guys, if you haven't already, please add me on Instagram. It is Sabo350. If you guys haven't checked that out yet, it is mostly pictures of your guys' rides, projects that you guys are working on. There's some really cool stuff on there. Remember, if you do submit me a picture or anything, try to include the entire quad, at least in one of the pictures. And also, guys, give me some time. I know, guys, some of you guys are like really impatient. It takes me a couple weeks to catch up. You know, I'm getting 30 to 40 posts a day. Or not posts, submissions, people sending in pictures. I can't keep up with them all, and I might not be able to get to yours. I apologize, guys, if I don't respond to your message. I appreciate you sending your stuff in. I just can't possibly get to everybody. But yeah, so please send in your stuff. Make sure to check me out. Sabo350, that's Instagram. And until the next one, guys, have a good weekend. Merry Christmas if I don't see you till then. Take it easy.
Come on, man.